It's a brand new trading day, week, and month. The PSE index kicking off from 64.33, down 3% last week, down 4% for the month of May, and off by 0.25% year to date. Now, contrary to how strongly Wall Street did in May, local investors did sell in May and gone away. What is next? Can we at least expect a June swoon? For more, let's bring in ATR Asset Management's Chief Investment Officer, Sandra Araullo. Hi, Sandra. Good morning. Welcome to Market Edge.
Good morning, Mimi.
All right. I just wanted to bring in the opening numbers. Actually, we're already 5 minutes into trade, and so far the index is still in the red, underperforming peers. The index is down by a fifth of 1%, 11 points off. We're at 64.21. The broader all shares also down by a fifth. It's a mixed picture. Industrials and services in the red, while the financials are leading gainers up by half of 1%. I wonder, Sandra, when you look at June, for example, are you seeing more positive support for the stock market? I mean, what are the key catalysts that you think could drive the index higher this month?
So we've been expecting some sideways movements for the markets in the near term, and it's really the currency weakening, the peso weakening, that's causing it's overwhelming the fundamental arguments for Philippine equities cheap valuations. That said, we don't expect a sharp deterioration from here, given that bargain hunters can easily come in, and considering we're already in the second half of the year, and that's when we're also, our investors are also looking forward to 2025 earnings expectations. That said, also the flows have been overwhelming, or the foreign selling from the banks, maybe because of profit taking, hasn't helped prop up the market. So it's partly the reason why we're seeing a bit of disappointment for Philippine equities.
But you don't think we're going to go any lower than 6,400, huh? You think this is it?
Don't think so. I mean, for example, a lot of the stocks that we like, the ones that we would say have longer term prospects, for longer term investors, like property and consumer names, they're currently trading at pandemic lows. I mean, it just doesn't connect for us. And with that longer time horizon, we do think that it's a lot of longer term investors will see that and will help support markets at these levels.
When you say longer term investors, how patient should these investors be, and how long is long term in this environment?
Well, objectively speaking, long term is 10 years, no? But in our present day, maybe 5 years is long enough, or practically speaking, that's long, 5 years. But in the last 5 years, one can argue that the market hasn't gone anywhere. And should it detract, or is it enough to conclude that stock market investing it doesn't work? No, it doesn't. It hasn't really had that chance to play out its long-term prospect.
All right. And Sandra, you did mention, how the weaker peso has also hurt, the argument for cheap valuation. I wanted to bring in the peso opening, still weak, still at the 58 handle, 58.47, but slightly stronger than the close from last week of 58.51. What are your expectations for the peso? Do you think 58, or do you think 59, 60 could be just around the corner, happening within the year?
So it's my guess is as good as anyone's, no? But we do think that the BSP will certainly determine whether they want to come in and keep it capped at a certain level. They might not let it move higher than, I don't know, say 59 or something. And there are tools that they can use. Particularly, I think inflation print on Wednesday might be something that they can use for messaging purposes that can help prop up the peso. So, for example, if you get a print that is closer to 4, maybe that can cause the BSP to communicate a cautious tone for the next policy meeting and actually walk back recent statements of a possible August hike, right? So I think that was really part of what spooked investors away from the peso because of uh, communication that the BSP might move ahead of the Fed and even hike in August. So that was a bit of a cost. It caught us off guard a little bit as well. And I think it's again, if inflation on Wednesday comes at the higher end of the range, although our own forecast is about 3.9 to 4.2, then you might have a BSP that will come in and support or keep the peso from weakening further.
You did mention inflation. We are getting them on Wednesday. And as usual, we are airing that live here on ANC. You did talk about the range. The BSP expects it to remain elevated between 3.7 to 4.5 from April's 3.8. I wonder, you did say that for ATR Asset Management, you're expecting it to fall anywhere between 3.9 to 4.2%. Do you think, are you expecting any disconnect between, the macro numbers and the way that the stock market responds?
It's not so much as a disconnect, but more of the what happens in between, and what's in between really is policy, no? So a big driver of a lot of the volatility we're seeing, not just in the Philippines, it's globally. It's the timing of policy change or move to easier policy for the Fed, or at least. And so that timing, or markets trying to anticipate, is it going to happen, when it's going to happen, it's causing a lot of volatility. So it's not a disconnect necessarily between markets and macro. It's what investors are trying to price in, and a lot of that timing is figuring in the volatility.
All right. Sandra, I'm actually looking at the disclosures front. It's pretty quiet aside from the stories that we earlier reported. So I think that's it from our end. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Sandra. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mimi.
All right.